live! All right, take it away, Chloe.
Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's dev stream for Savage Lands Week 7 with myself, your community manager, Kittychix, and through the interwebs to my left, even though I'm pointing right on my side, is your game director, Chris Ruby or Euryidium, and hopefully beside him, because I'm not actually looking at the Twitch, is our special guest for this week, which is AniNating, our lead animator for Savage Lands. So welcome everybody. Say hi, Chris.
Hello. I'm going to pause that so I can reduce the sound. All right, guys. So can I take it away, Chloe?
You can,
Can
of
I?
course.
All right. First off, thank you everybody for stopping by. Lots been going on this week. We just released the latest update to the game. Game update number 7 is out. It supports Linux, SteamOS, as well as Mac, which is super awesome. Who doesn't want the Mac and SteamOS version of the game? We also, guys, the update went smoothly. I'm sure there's no bugs. But if you do, there are a few things that have been encountered. Please post them up in our bug forums, and we will come up with the, give you the best solutions for managing, getting around some of these things. I want to throw this out to everybody watching as well. The beta stuff, just so you know, we're going to be updating our beta text in the future. Beta could be bugs, could destroy worlds, could destroy characters. The beta is a risky business, but it does give you a first glimpse at all the cool stuff that's coming down the pipes. We'll make sure that in our text that tells you how to opt in, that information will be noted. So it's one of those try at your own risk type of things, and we apologize if things do happen, but it's all in the name of making a better game. So with that, shall we start talking about all the cool updates that we released, Chloe?
Sounds good.
All right. So, we resolved a lot of issues and added some cool stuff. Let's talk to the Animator. All right. No. Okay. All right.
Let's try that again.
All right. So Mac OS has been supported. We've added in. A lot of people are going to like this, and some people aren't going to like it. Finding your corpse has now become much easier in the world. So when you die, this really cool little skull and crossbones will appear where your corpse is at. So when you respawn, wherever it is in the world that you respawn, you'll be able to see that icon from a great distance. Now there is a distance cap on it, about 350 meters, I believe. So if you die on the opposite end of the island, chances are you're not going to see the corpse moniker or UI, the UI element. But as you get closer to where you think your corpse is at, it'll appear and everything's all good in the world. So I know some people believe that makes the game a lot easier, and in some ways it does, but at the same time it also eases frustration. And I think that's very important for the overall game experience. Let's see, we've added repair. Yes, repair is in the game. Enjoy, have fun. I'm going to be making some changes to the repair system in the next update or two. So you know how I love to just muck with crafting and make it so awesome. So I'm going to muck with it a little bit more. I'm actually going to simplify the repairing system a little bit. I'm going to talk it over with Jackie, one of our coders, and we'll figure out a really good solution to make that system flow nice and well. Let's see. Torches should now burn out properly. For those of you that love the infinite torches, they're no longer infinite. Sorry about that. Yep. Forest giants now use a new trigger system to spawn. Hopefully you guys are digging that. Lycor, he in the beta was using a new trigger system, but I actually put him back to the old trigger system because there were some issues I was experiencing, and he wasn't spawning the way I wanted him to spawn. So he's back to where he is, and there's a percentage chance that he'll spawn. And I believe I set him to spawn both day and night. Now in the next update...
So in other words, I need to go fix the update notes that still has him being listed as...
Chloe, you didn't read my mind? Come on, let's get with this. So yes, well-oiled machine.
La, 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 la.
So let's see. Lycor, he's now back to where he was. He'll spawn now during both day and night. In the game update number 8, I actually we've revamped Lycor visually, new materials, so he actually stands out from the other undead furies. It looks really hot. Ragnok has also been revamped as well. Ragnok has red eyes. We've also revamped the rotted oak smasher in his hand. There's a lot of blood on it. Cool stuff. So, but that's just a little taste for game update number 8. Let's see what else. So
you get to actually see Lycor today? Do we get to see his new stuff today?
Yeah. Actually, before I bring on the Animator, I'll show you guys Lycor. I'll also show you Ragnok. I also made some changes to the Evan Steel and Executioner armor recipe, so I hope you guys like those changes. Added some new textures to the Reckless Edge and Flesh Wrapped Hammer, so a lot of cool stuff there. You guys will also start seeing abandoned camps starting to spring up now. I'm going through the world. I'm trying to do a couple a day, adding new camps in. As you go further out beyond the start areas, you go out beyond Argo, you'll find more of these camps. These camps that are beyond the start areas actually yield better items. So in some cases, if you see that dead skeleton on the ground, there is a chance very well that he may spawn. There may be something that spawns in that location, or that skeleton it is that whoever that player was or that creature was, to his last dying breath died, and it dropped something really cool. So. Stay on the lookout for those. A lot of cool stuff. I want to talk about game update number 8, but I'm not going to talk about it yet because I don't know if I'm going to be able to hit some of these things. So, but I'm really excited about it. Maybe I'll do them over the weekend.
Do you have any small things that you know are going
I'm gonna revamp all the runes. All the runes. We have these really awesome looking runes now that actually stand out, not like the stuff that's in there now, which looks temporary, which I apologize. The stuff we have is awesome. So we're gonna revamp all that stuff. I'll scatter stuff on the beaches, scatter stuff in the rune areas that you guys know. I'm super excited to get all that in.
Awesome.
All right.
Great.
So with that,
stay tuned for more stuff on updating.
We'll keep you. We also we've been busy. John overhauled the AI, so I've been working on tweaking some of the balance with the creatures, making sure that they fit the new AI system. We found some bugs, so I know some of you have asked me questions and I haven't responded. I've been working on that, helping out John where I can. And rebalancing. Still a lot more work to do, but in the next update, we'll see a whole big AI revamp. The Forest Giant now has 2 attacks. Does a huge swipe. Super awesome. In addition to all the skeletons, John's hooked up a bunch of new different attack animations, so they have different attacks, slight variance in the damage they do. We also see creatures now. Some of the higher tier skeletons have a couple of them have different weapons: stone hammer, stone axe, that kind of stuff. So, but more to come. I'll keep you guys updated. So let me. I'm going to jump into the game right now, or the scene. Actually, I'm not going to jump into it. I'm going to drop Lycor into the world. I'll show you guys just a taste of his awesome. All right, so here's.
I can't wait to see his new eyes.
Well, I haven't done the eyes yet. We got the armor in. Well, I should say, these are retextures. Now, let me not overdo it. But he stands out from the rest of the characters or the rest of the creatures in game, or the rest of the undead furies. So,
right,
which is very important. Now, I'm sure I got this.
And like you said, you're going to be doing the same thing with Draymar and Ragnok.
Yes.
So that you can be until we get the named mob titles. When you mouse over them, you can at least tell visually, not just relying on the fact that, ooh, that looks like a shiny new sword.
So I take that back. We did get the eyes in. So Lycor does have purple emissives. He's wearing black armor, and of course that is the golden reaver in his hand. There is, let me move him over here. This is what he looks like next to one of his undead furies. So, and we're going to keep on tweaking these over time. We'll probably spruce up some more armor and stuff and really make the named creatures stand out. But yes, when you see him in the world now, he definitely stands out. You'll know that he's spawned. Hopefully you guys like it. Let's see. Where's Ragnok?
It looks awesome. And very, very different. So really quickly.
Hold on, I'm showing Rag. I got Ragnok.
While you're doing that, Devlin asked a question in chat regarding some of the changes that you were just talking about, not about Lycor, but Devlin, is wondering, does that mean you can get hit on top of a roof now with some of the changes that you're planning to make?
You can go up on top of a roof and you're going to be safe, and the AI will just wander off. They lose interest because they essentially lose aggro, and you're safe. You made it somewhere that they can't get, and that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Although that does bring up an interesting question. When we start having enemies that have the bow, I don't think that they will necessarily run off because you'll still technically be in line of sight. Right?
Yeah, with ranged creatures, it'll be a different story. You'll want to be inside the house. So here we go. This is Ragnok. He carries the Rotted Oak Smasher. I'm going to make some changes to this weapon. It does 14 damage right now, but I'm going to increase that damage. It also has blood. We took the Oak Smasher, messed it up a little bit, darkened it up, and we added blood to the overall weapon. You won't get that on the other ones. It looks really cool. This is what he drops. And of course, Ragnok, when he spawns, he has the red glowing eyes. He's actually a soldier. He's not one of the Furies, which is why he looks like the other guys. So, and we're going to mix these guys up over time, so we'll have more variety in skeletons and as we go forward. So it's just all stuff that takes time. And the Animator will talk about all the cool stuff that he's been working on as well.
So, because we don't know very much about Ragnok or Draymar, I don't know why I want to say Draynor. It's the name of something in fantasy.
Draymar.
Yes, Draymar. Could you give us a little bit of lore about either one of them? Just a little bit of tidbits. We haven't talked very much about either one of them.
About Ragnok. Well, Draymar, there's not much to him. He's just kind of, you'll find him, he's in the Rune area near Befallen. He's just kind of a lost soul, if you will.
Gotcha.
He's just one of the towns. He was part of the city, the town of Befallen. And he's just kind of a lost, wandering soul. Ragnok was actually more of a soldier, and it was part of another contingent that went to fight Kerr, but much like Lycor, succumbed to the magiques and awesome that Kerr has bestowed upon the land. So I'm looking at updating the bestiary, guys. So I'm in the process of doing that. Hopefully it'll come online in the next update. If not, it'll be the update after that. And a lot of this backstory for the characters will all be there.
Awesome. So a little bit of tidbits ahead of time. That's all we're looking for.
All right. So we got some new characters to show. Then I'm not going to spoil it for the Animator. So with that, we have Nathan Combs, who's going to be taking over and showing you some of the cool stuff that we have going on. He'll be talking about animations. You can ask him anything about animations. You can ask him about the game. Nate's been on the project since the very beginning. All these creatures in the game that you see, he's animated. He's animated the player. He's animated everything. So he's essentially the animator for the project. He's also had help. There's people been off and on, but Nate's basically spearheaded most everything that you see in regards to the animation and stuff. So really talented individual. If any of you, he can definitely give you the rundown on how this process works and show you a lot of cool stuff and walk you through it. So I'll leave you guys be. I'm going to give it over to Nate. Enjoy. I'm going to be off over here on the side reading email.
All good.
All right.
Reading email. Great.
Have fun.
Okay, so
hello.
there we go. You're already on the headset. Yay! So for those of you who weren't here when we had John on a couple weeks ago, what we're going to be doing is I'm going to ask Nate a couple of sort of broad questions. Hey Nate, here's what we're also going to be doing for this part of the stream, FYI.
Okay.
we totally prep ahead of time. So a couple of broad questions, get into sort of your history within the industry, your history with Signal, your history on Savage. And then we do have questions that our community asked when they found out that you were coming on the stream today. So we'll get to those in a little bit. And we can also be giving away copies of Savage Lands. And I will either pick keywords based off of things that you've said, or I will ask you, I'll ask you for at least one keyword. So tuck that in the back of your head and sort of groove on it for a little bit. Okay, so without further ado, introduce yourself. Who are you? And then get into how you actually got into the games industry.
Well, Nathan Combs, and I'm the animator over here at Signal Studios. And let's see, I got an animation. Actually, I wanted to get an animation back in the late 90s when I was, I actually went to college the first time. And the first time I ever played StarCraft, I saw one of the cutscenes and I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to do that. And I'm not the best artist. I can't draw very well, but that looked cool, and that's what I wanted to do. And I remember talking to someone, they're like, oh, that's really hard. You can't do that. And I was like, oh. And so for the next 10 years, I did something else. I actually coached women's gymnastics for about 10 years. And then, and then one day I was like, this sucks. I want to do something else with my life. And so I went back to school and then became an animator. And now I'm the lead animator here at Signal Studios.
Okay. That is a, I don't even know what to say to that. That
Career
is one
changes.
of the bigger career changes that I have heard of in the industry.
Yes.
Women's gymnastics, really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things that got me the job when I started animating, I wanted to get in the industry, was the fact that I had coached gymnastics, because animation is all about movement and motion, and and I was into that before that, and then I started coaching, and then it was kind of like hand in hand. Just knowing how things move.
Sure.
So it's been a big help.
Okay, you know what? There's a very logical answer. So you would have been getting into gaming. Like, did you play games as a kid? Did you, what was your favorite game as a kid? Would you say?
As a kid, we used to play the Might and Magic games. I would say, God, we used to have Commodore 64. I started off, there was, our first console was called the F Channel. It was like one of the first consoles. It was back in like early 80s. And then we ended up getting a ColecoVision. In fact, my brother, I just bought him a ColecoVision, just like one of those, to reminisce, one of those, it's all-in-one ColecoVisions.
Yeah.
We used to play those all the time, and there was a game called Ladybug on there, I remember we used to play a lot. And but our biggest gaming system was our Commodore 64. We used to play a lot of games on Commodore 64.
Awesome.
Mission Impossible, Batman. There was, I don't know, a lot of good games.
Very cool. So I'm not actually sure if you said it, but what was your first game that you worked on in the industry? I may have missed that when you were, because my mind was blown by women's gymnastics coach.
The first game I started working on was here at Signal, and that was Ascend.
All right.
That was when I was actually in the industry getting a job. I had worked on some stuff before that.
So what was the very first thing that you worked on then, if it wasn't formally in the industry?
Nothing that ever got out, so it's not really worth it. There was one small little game called Elementa that we worked on, but it was nothing big.
Very cool. So then what would you say your favorite style or genre of game is? Because you've worked on a large variety of them while at Signal. Everything that we do is kind of different. Unless we're working within the Toy Soldiers IP. But you started with sort of Might and Magic. Well, not started with, but you played a lot of Might and Magic. You played some of the old traditional ones. What would you say your favorite genre of video game is?
To play or to work on?
Both. Because those can't be two very different questions.
Well, I say playing is probably more of like RPG type, and also strategic type games. I like Civilization. I also like StarCraft and stuff like that. So those games are more I really enjoy playing. But I also do, Savage Lands is also right up my alley. I had never played a survival game before I started working on it. And when we first started talking about it, they were like, oh, you got to check out these games. So I jumped online and I started looking at a whole bunch of different survival games. And I was actually shocked to myself how much I actually got into it. So being able to work on it is actually a lot of fun.
All right, and one last sort of general question, and this one's actually from Captain Franco in the chat. What has been your favorite and least favorite characters to animate thus far in your career?
Favorite character? I can't talk about the favorite character. I guess that I could talk about, because there's ones on Toy Soldiers that I can't talk about, and I just did one recently that was a lot of fun. But I would say for Savage Lands, the characters I'm actually going to show you today were actually my favorite ones to work on. These guys are actually really cool. I really liked working on them. The least favorite I had is probably the skeletons. And it's not that the skeletons are bad or whatever. It's just they're kind of biped. There's nothing really that really interesting about them. I mean, some of it's kind of cool. You can break them up and make them move, but they're just guys. You know, they walk on 2 feet. I like guys have a lot more weight, or doing the dragon. Dragon was great to animate, or I don't know, just something other than just the normal biped.
Well, that actually leads me right into a question. So if you want to get set up with showing whom we're going to show off, I will ask you a question that was given to us over the week from Savage Fool. He asks, I'm also interested in how you capture the animation personality of creatures that don't exist. For example, the skeletons. What makes you decide that how the more powerful they get, the more upright and fluid they are? Is that a difficult process? Is that something that is so much you deciding how that is, or does Chris and the other designers give you notes on how they think a character should be moving and interacting with the world?
Gotcha.
How does it work?
Kind of both. They come, so when we started the skeletons, they come up to me and they said, all right, we're going to have 3 different types of skeletons. We're going to have a weaker guy, we're going to have kind of a mid-range, and then we're just kind of a guy that's going to be like a lot harder to kill, and we want this guy to really look badass. And so they already gave me kind of like a range of what these skeletons were going to be. But it's up to us as the animators to come up with that personality. And we did come up, we sat down and we talked about what kind of personality we wanted each one to have. And then we would go back and we'd talk to Chris just to make sure that what our ideas would still line up with what he wanted the game to look like. But as far as the personalities and everything, we pretty much come up with. And then it's just we sat down and thought, well, the weakest guy's he doesn't have any armor on, which I believe is this guy out here. So if we look at these guys, we knew this guy here, he's not gonna have any armor. He'd probably be the most broken and the easiest to kill, so he's just gonna move slow. So we don't even have a run for him. He just kind of walks. But we wanted him really broken. That way he'd be easier to kill. And then you've got the
Defiled are the easiest of the 3.
Yes, the Defiled. I know him as Skeleton 01, Skeleton 02, and Skeleton 03.
That's okay. I'll feed it once my stream catches up. Since I don't, I've got the nice 30-second delay. I can slide in the additional information for everybody.
Gotcha. So yeah, and then the next guy up, we just knew he wasn't quite as broken, and so we kind of did the mid-tier. And then the last guy, we were just like, all right, this guy's going to be not broken at all. He's going to look like a normal character, and he's going to look quite powerful. So yeah, it was definitely pre-thought, and we took a little bit of time to really think about the way they were going to look.
Absolutely, and obviously as we add new named characters like Lycor and Ragnok, that process becomes even further refined because you have a basic model, and humans or humanoid characters have a basic model that the structure of them and whatnot, but it is truly the personality, the way they move or drag their feet or swipe out at the attacker that really sets them apart from, like you say, a generic defiled skeleton who's sort of limping along and screaming in agony.
Yeah. And the nice thing is, too, with these characters, since we already have the base layer, so we already have all 3 basic personalities. Now, if you add other characters, we can take those animations and tweak them a little bit, like the walk, like Skeleton 03, the strongest one.
Night Fury.
Yeah, that one. He right now he drags his sword on the floor. So now if we have another character, we can change that and have him still have a really badass walk, but put the sword maybe up in the air or put it, and just move it so his animations look different, but he still has the same personalities. So now we have this base layer, and as we add new characters in, we can actually just tweak some animations and have those animations specifically just for those characters.
And that's something that makes the process, the second and the third and the 50th, et cetera, time much easier to do. When you're sitting there, we had you on very briefly, maybe it wasn't so briefly, during the streaming extravaganza.
Yes,
for
I remember.
a long stream when we went to early access. Lives on in infamy, at least in my own mind. You were at the time working on the animation for the bow.
Yes.
And that was probably a good month before we actually had the bow completely ready and in the game and testing and whatnot. And then, of course, one more week till everybody else got it. Now, you had been working on the bow for probably about a week at that point, I think I remember you saying, and okay, my memory might be a little off. How much longer did it actually take you to get that in? Because that was the very first time we'd done any of those animations.
I think I was just starting the bow at that point. And then it took me about a week, a little less than a week to get just animations in, but it was about, I put it in temporary animations, so I don't do like full scale animations because I don't know what it's going to look like when it goes in game. Right. So I basically just try to do some quick animations, and then I'll hand it over to the DNA guys, and then they go in and they script everything. Once they get it in game, then I can take a look at it, and then I can start tweaking it and making it look better.
So it's actually a multi-step process for you. So yes. you literally have to you have to wait for some code stuff to come back.
Yes, definitely.
Before you can. Okay.
It's very hard because I work in Autodesk Maya, and Maya, even though I'm animating and you look at the screen, you're like, oh, that looks awesome. You could be animating something and do a full polish and make it look great, and you put it in the game and it'll look completely different. So as an animator, a lot of times for an artist, they can just create the models, they put it in, and then they add their textures, and they can just kind of just take it from A to B or start to finish and just be done with it. Whereas for animators, we tend to go in and we'll start just blocking stuff out and just kind of doing like simple animations, and they'll be extremely temporary. That way we can throw them in the game, everything can get hooked up, and then we can see what they look like in game. And once we see them in game, then we go back and then we polish everything. So we'll probably take everything like 50 to 70% that first pass, hand it over to the programmers, let them get it set up if we can't set it up ourselves. And then I go back and I repolish everything. And as far as the bow, it required a lot of technical support. Thomas did a great job putting it in, but he basically had to redo a lot of the player character just to get that bow system in.
Right. And that's something that as we add new systems, whether it be PvP, which admittedly we had already had some of that groundwork in, actually prior to us even working with the new player models, and that was something that we did while we were still in the closed alpha, so even before we got to early access, we've had to obviously add the bow. And again, when we start adding magic, any major system like that is going to impact the existing player model that we have, because we're asking him to do stuff that we haven't yet coded.
Yes.
So it should be an easy fix, and it's really not.
And it
adds
is
time.
Yeah, and a lot of time it is, because being an animator, I work hand in hand with coders all the time, because we're usually at the last step of the process. Like, it goes through all this process just to get in game. We're usually the last person to touch it. So, and in that last process, we're also working with the coders. And a lot of times it is. A lot of people will think, oh, we're just going to add this in. Yeah, let's just throw it in. But from a coding aspect and to get that stuff in is usually a lot bigger step. So yeah, like getting the bow in, seems like it should be kind of easy. Just lift it up. I mean, you're just firing a projectile. But really and truly, there's a lot more stuff. Even the animations itself, it took me a while to to get all those animations done and figure out what animations I needed to do. Because there's
Totally.
actually a lot more animations than I thought there was going to be.
Right. Do you want to go and show off some of the new guys that
Yes,
you're?
sure.
Let's shift over to that. Evolution. You just asked in chat. Could we actually see you do some animating? I'm not sure, Evil, that our stream machine could actually handle Maya. Although to be fair, we have actually updated that box because of some of the issues with we needed more power for Unity. So it's possible that it is, but I don't know whether that's saved to cloud or not.
I'm not even sure if do we. He just left. He was in here a second ago. I was wondering if we actually had Maya on this machine.
If not, and there's actual interest in that, maybe at some point in the future, during a special stream, we could maybe do it during Extra Life. That might be kind of fun.
Yeah, I would love to come in and just do a little animation, or at least show the animations we've worked on through in Maya.
That would be neat.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, well, I will add it to the list of things to possibly do. All right, take it away, Nate. Why don't you introduce us to what you've been working on?
Sure. So I have been working on new characters. So the DNA guys are constantly working hard. I mean, those guys, I feel for them. They're constantly implementing new systems, upgrading things. There's just a lot to do on their plate. So I try to stay ahead of them and trying to get new characters in. There are characters that are waiting to go into the game, and hopefully when they have time, they'll be able to get some more of it in. There's some characters that I don't even know if they're fully aware of yet, but these are things that we kind of just put together, and if we can use them, that's great. If not, that's fine. We'll always find another use for them.
Right.
So I was going across and I found these characters, and I thought they looked really cool. And so I just took it upon myself to go ahead and animate them. I rigged them, skinned them, animated them, and I decided to call them Forest Gremlins.
Ooh.
So they are right here. I'm going to go ahead and play the game a little bit. And they are these little tiny guys. They're probably about waist high to the player.
Okay.
And we're not exactly sure what they're going to be doing yet, but we know we want them to play kind of a big role in the future. And then, again, and that's it. These are all suggestions right now.
Sitting around the campfire, that is amazing.
I'm not promising that we'll get these guys in anytime soon, or if they ever will. But these are definitely some of the things that I've been working on. And these little gremlins are little tiny guys, and we've been kicking around some what they're going to be like, what they're going to be doing. And we're thinking about these guys will be out in the forest, and they're big enough, if you see the bush, they can actually hide in the bushes. And so during the day, they would actually run up and hide in a bush. Wait, this dragon is really loud. So they would actually be able to go over and hide in the bush, and they would watch you. And so during the day, if you came up to them, they would run away and run to another bush and try to hide. And they'd kind of be hard to get to during the day, but at night, they would come at you. And not only would they come at you, they would also invade your camp. So if you had a fire, like you see these guys right now are sitting around the campfire, they would actually take over your campfire and warm themselves. So we were looking at different personalities, this guy just squatting down and getting a fire, this guy just chilling, getting warmed by the fire, and this guy kind of just patrolling around. So we had talked about these guys kind of just moving in, you'd be off getting wood or trying to fight a skeleton or doing something, or maybe you're in your hut and you've got your fire sitting outside, and they'll run up and start taking over your fire. You'll look out and you'll see all these little forest gremlins sitting around your fire, and you'll have to fight them off or try to scare them away.
I love the animation of the one dude who's sitting there. I just sort of moving his feet.
Yeah.
They actually the lorically, whatever that word is, mechanically, actually, I think it's the word that we settled on in previous streams. They look like they're related to the forest giants, which I assume is kind of sort of the goal here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was an original theme with some of the guys that we have, and they all came from that same original theme. There was a whole bunch of models we had done in the beginning, and the forest giant and this guy all came from the same genre. So when I was looking around and I saw him and I was like, this guy's just way too cool. We've got to put him in. He was originally as big as the forest giant, and I decided to shrink him down and make him tiny. And I thought he'd be cooler and neater if we could put him in and he could hide in the bushes. And it'd be a difference because we got this huge dragon over here and we've got this huge forest giant. The bear's kind of big. And so putting in a little guy I thought would be fun.
I think, yes, I think our players would very much. Watching, yes, I absolutely love it. They're making fun of me in chat for falling in love with these guys, but they're so cute. It's interesting to talk about how character models and characters in general evolve over time, because of course, our player model, for example, went through a massive change very early on in the sort of the public version of Savage Lands. Once we started allowing people to play, and anybody who was in the closed alpha to now will know that there was a dramatic change within that character model. And of course, part of that is we upgraded some of our like the amount of polygons or whatever. I don't know what they're called. Sorry guys, I'm the community manager, I don't know the details. I just know we went from like standard def, it seemed like, to high res.
Yes.
that was
we
the
made
big
him
jump
look better.
that I saw.
That's all he needed. We just made him look better.
Exactly. And there was a very funny at least I found it funny. I don't think you and poor Corbett necessarily found it so funny that while we were making the new character model, obviously you guys know that he is very anatomically correct.
Yes. The new player, yes.
Poor Nate was sitting, and technically still is within Signal, is sitting out in the open. He's not in an enclosed space. So by, like hour 2 of the day where he had started to work on that part of the body, that the jokes were already completely old. And
yes, so we had the character with the big hands, big feet, and then we were like, okay, we want to get rid of that, and then we went to a new character, and then the new character, they wanted everything. He was completely naked, he had nothing, and they're like, we want everything animated. And I was like, everything animated. So where I am sitting, I'm literally out in front of everybody, and so I'm animating this guy running around and things swinging around, and everybody loves coming by my desk and making some type of comment.
Yep.
It was all fun and games. We ended up putting something on my monitor so you could only look straight on my monitor, so people couldn't see what I was working on, just to get the comments to stop. But it was fun. It was all good and good fun.
I just felt bad for you because it was. I could hear you because where I sit when I'm in the studio was directly across from you, basically. Although
Yes.
you shifted over the wall now, so there's a little bit more space there. But it was a non-stop barrage of comments. So yes. Anyway, okay.
Hey,
So
I gotta say though, it was animated well though. If I was gonna animate it, it was gonna look good.
Absolutely. and now, here's something that we do get, because people do occasionally, say, oh, we wish we could have smoother animations for this, that, or the other thing. How much time do you spend once you basically deliver on something, the player running, for example? How much time do you then spend or have to go back and rework those animations? Because, obviously you have to balance between existing content and new content, like the Forest Gremlin, like, what's up and hug.
Well, yes, so we definitely, it's kind of a hard balance. Like I said before, I try to get temporary animations, I put those in, and then once they get coded in, and then I go through and I usually try to do a polish pass. From that polish pass, like the player itself, I've put a lot of time into the player. I've gone back and I revamped him many times. So I have put a lot of time in going back and trying to fix animations, and I try to listen to other people. Once I get the polish animations in, I have other people take a look at them, and And trust me, there's no problem with getting feedback on people's thoughts on those animations. But there's also that balance of, I get feedback from people, but how far do I mean, you can only make it look so good. And you only get, there's tons of opinions that come in, and I can't appease everybody. So there is a point where you just kind of stop and you say, okay, I'm going to walk away. Unless it's hideous and people just hate it, the player, most of his animations, I would say would be close to being done. Now, as far as like the Forest Gremlins that we were looking at, those are still very early in the process, so those will probably change a lot. And as we develop their personality a little bit more. So I do get back, I do try to get in and tweak the animations, I would say probably for quite a while. But there is a point when I do stop and just walk away and say, okay, this character's done. It's also
unless we need to add new functionality or something like that.
Yes, like the main character. If we end up doing magic, then we'll end up doing more animations, and and obviously those will be polished up. But I'm also working on other games. Like I am working on, this dragon is so loud. I am also working on Toy Soldiers at the same time. So it's also throwing that in the balance of trying to get to these characters and polish them up and work on them, and then go over to Toy Soldiers and get those animations completed and polished up. It is kind of tricky, but I do try to get in. I can't stand hideous animations when they're in the game. But
well, I mean, it's a point literally of professional pride at that point, right?
Yes.
So I mean, what you put into a game is literally the representation of your work. So
yes, definitely.
Okay, so do you have someone else that you want to show off while we're in the armor, or do we want to move on to more questions now?
We can move on to more questions.
Right.
Everyone's seen the deer, right? The deer. This is actually a character I really enjoyed working on too. Was the deer? I think the deer came out really well. This was actually one of the first characters I worked on in the game, and I thought they came out really nice. But yeah, okay, more questions. Sorry.
Okay. More questions. Actually, while I'm actually ready for my next question, but I'm going to do a giveaway. And yes, it is going to be Forest Gremlins. It is super simple. So one word, there's 2 words in there, but we're going to take up the space. So Forest Gremlin is what you need to be entering into chat right about now. And this is for a copy of the game. We're going to choose 3 winners, which is awesome. Yay! Come on, join the Savage Bus. So everybody enter in Forest Gremlin, not S, Forest Gremlin. And while everybody is starting to put that into chat, I'm going to ask you a question. There we go. Okay. From Savage Pool, when we think of animation, we think of characters and creatures, but that's not all that you do, I suspect. Are you the man I would have to speak to in order to get climbing and or tunneling goblins?
Okay, so like to implement them into the game?
Yeah, basically.
Ooh, to get stuff like that would be probably going to Chris first and seeing if that would be something he would want in the game. If it would get approved, then he would come and talk to me, and then I would go through all the animations. So really and truly, if we wanted to get that stuff in the game, the first person you would go to is Chris, and you would find out from him.
In other words, make sure it's posted in the feedback and suggestions area so that I can push it at Chris. You just need to make sure that lots of people, agree with you and post for whatever feedback you want. Because we have ladders in the game. We also have a minor jump, which has been talked about previously because jumping up on relatively low rocks appears to be complicated for our poor little humanoid guy. Is that something like when you talk about adding a new motion like that, is that complicated? Because different games handle climbing specifically in very different ways. Sometimes you see the hand, sometimes you just walk up a ladder. How much input do you have on how that's actually implemented?
Again, it would go through the process and say it gets approved. Hey, there's ladders in the game, and now we want somebody to climb up the ladder. I would go in and I would figure out probably look at a bunch of reference and see what other games are doing. And then I would just figure out how that would look. But the look of it, again, the animations would probably be something that I would come up with and to see, like if you just saw the hands, like the first person, obviously you probably just see the hands. It's looking at what other people and other games do.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
That's fair. That's totally fair. I mean, we are very open about the fact that we look at other games, that we take other games into consideration, because why completely reinvent the wheel when there are, I mean, you know, specifically for this, there's sort of two main trains of thought. Either you see the hands or you don't.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just a matter of which feels more right for us.
Exactly.
I guess.
And looking at other games, I don't want to copy straight from other games, but just looking at other games, because there is an expectation of players when they're playing the game of what they see. If other games and a bunch of other games are doing climbing animations and you can see the hands, and you get in ours and you just go up and you don't see the hands, it might feel a little empty and it won't feel as good. And so it is a matter of playing it a little bit. So if we're going to do a climbing up a ladder or digging a hole or something like that, we would implement it, and then we'd be testing out a whole bunch of things. I mean, there's been many times where I've done animations where I think in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is going to be so awesome. And then you put it in the game and you're like, wow, that sucked. And then you just totally go a different direction. So implementing a ladder, I would talk to Chris. He'd be like, yeah, let's put it in. And then I would start trying to figure out. I'd animate some hands, or you know, maybe they're like this, or maybe they're grabbing the side of the ladder. We'd also look at what would be best for coding. There's just a lot of variables to look at, you know.
Right.
Because is it going to grab a ladder? Are they going to make a ladder appear where it just kind of looks that way? I mean, you just don't know. It's just things to figure out. So I'm only.
It's a very complicated. Well, not even complicated. It specifically for you, because your stuff takes action.
Yes.
You have to work with code, as you said. Absolutely.
Yeah. Anything. That's one thing. It's not so bad. I mean, it can be bad about animation, but is also really good about animation is I do have to work with everybody. I have to make sure all the models. So I'm constantly working with the modelers. Constantly having to working with the designers, and then constantly working with the coders to make sure everything comes together. Because we're the last people, the last group to actually touch the model before it's actually in game and working. And then code takes it and finishes it. But yeah, so as far as implementing stuff, for us, it always takes a team effort of the other professionals.
Sorry, Sean is messaging me going, why did the store chat link get banned? And it's because I have a chat mod bot in there and I forgot to whitelist our store link. I'll be doing that afterwards. Oops. Teehee. It's okay. It's all good. That's fair. I mean, we talk about very frequently on stream in an effort to have our community, you guys, our community, understand what it is that we're doing. And the best way that we can do that is so that you understand how complicated these moving parts are that we are trying to create for you. And when stuff blows up, as it inevitably does, you guys have a better understanding of when this happens, what is causing it, basically. Okay, so Forged Hand is curious. What are your current goals for character animation? What are you working on right now? Other than the adorable little forest gremlins that I want to adopt and just have sitting on my... I want desk gremlins. Ooh, can you make me a desk gremlin? No, it's okay.
Well, the forest gremlins actually, too, the way they look, just real quick, let me see if I can jump over there. Corbett is actually working on retexturing them. I think they look great as they are. But
make them a little more snowy?
I think he's possibly. But what he is doing, though, it looks... I went over and took a look at it, and they actually... I thought they looked good like this. They actually look even better. But he is making them a little bit more green and feel a little bit more organic.
Cool.
And yeah, so what he's doing looks pretty good. So I've been working pretty much my full time right now has just been working on these guys. And then I know there's been efforts to put in for the dragon. So I've also been trying to go in and update some of the dragon animations.
Right.
It is difficult to update things while the coders are working on them, because if I'm updating things and they're trying to code them, I could mess up what they're doing and they could get pretty pissed, rightfully so.
You occasionally see we're all on big mailing lists for these projects, and you occasionally see emails coming from various people who work on the projects going, is anybody working on this great big huge part of the game over here, because I need it, but I don't want to overwrite. I mean, I just saw an email from you yesterday or sometime this week basically stating that, going, I need this thing that is a huge part of what we do. Can I do stuff there?
It was actually getting these guys into the scene.
There
The
you
scene.
go.
Someone else had the scene checked out on, and I didn't want to check something in and overwrite someone else's work. So yeah, I wanted to make sure these guys were in so I could show them off today.
Well, thank you very much. They are very awesome. Little dude. I really hope they get in, because this is awesome. Okay, next question. Now, we have talked about why we haven't made the jump to Unity 5 yet. And we talked about that with John last week. 2 weeks ago? Anyway, when John was on, yes, it was 2 weeks ago. It's so long. And we talked about the fact that Unity 5, we're just kind of letting it mature a little before we make the jump, because a lot of the changes that we do, we do things that Unity doesn't really like. Trees, for example. Unity hates trees. When we do make the jump, have you taken a look at what you might be able to take advantage of moving forward? Do you know of anything in that?
In Unity 5?
Mm-hmm.
I've actually looked a lot into Unity 5. I've been scripting. In fact, I scripted those gremlins walking around, and so I've been using Unity 5 on the side to learn to make sure that everything that I do will be able to switch over fine if and when we ever switch over. One of the nice things in Unity 5 is, which is going to help me out, is there's a preview. So when I do an animation, I bring it in, I can actually, there's a little previewer that I can actually see the animations. I can actually show you one for these guys here. So down here, let me see if I can get them in here. There we go. So we have this little preview here that I can actually preview the animations before we put them in the game.
Oh, is that down in the corner?
Yes, it was down in the corner.
We can't see it, because on the stream, it's actually hidden behind where my image is. Oh, there you go. All right, you got it. Yay, you're smart.
So I can view them right here. Now, for some reason, Unity 4 and all the other previous Unities, I can't move. I can only go around him. I can't. So if he was really tall, like in the previewer, I wouldn't be able to see his head. In Unity 5, I can actually zoom out, I can move around, and I can actually see the character much better and easier.
Gotcha.
So, but this is a nice little feature I like in Unity, being able to see the characters. And I can actually look at them here before I put them in the game as well. Or if they're not hooked up in code yet, this is the previewer I can use to look at them and check them out and see what they look like.
So if when you were talking earlier, when you import from Maya, sometimes things change pretty dramatically. This would be your first visual indication that you actually had something go horribly wrong.
Yes.
That's fair.
There's been times like even arms will be twisted around. They look fine in Maya, and I come in here and all of a sudden an arm is twisted around, and just the joints and everything that we animate with will be all, I don't know, just some weird translation between Maya and Unity. And so I can look at here real quick and I can make all those fixes and changes, and then when the coders are ready, then they can take it. At least I know I've got a good base for when they implement them in there.
Very cool. And like you said, some of that seems to have been improved for Unity 5, so potentially it will make it easier for you, hopefully a little less. Now, is it that it seems to be translating less errors, or just it's handling things differently, and it's making it better.
It's just easier to view them.
Gotcha.
That's probably the biggest one. There's his death.
Oh no, he's going to die. No. Oh.
He is an enemy character.
But he's the cute kind of enemy characters that I don't really want. It's fine. Oh. Repeated death. Hilarious. Okay, Zelchris in chat just asked, what kind of specs do you use in your build? Do you know them off the top of your head?
What kind of specs?
Yeah, like what is your actual computer made up of? I mean, you're gonna have a GPU and a graphics card and all. Do you know them off the top of your head?
My computer itself, I think, I know it's an i7 processor. It's I don't know exactly. I think I've got a GeForce 660 or 6 something.
Powerful enough to run Maya and Unity.
We have a tech person.
Knows.
We have a tech person, Keith. Keith is great for that stuff.
Yes,
I need a problem. I'm just
amazing.
like, hey, Keith, fix. And he comes over and fixes it. So.
That's fair. That is very fair. Zelchris, I can get that information for you if you are curious. How about that? We are not the type of indie devs who take necessarily pleasure in like geeking out over every single detail of our build machines. We rather just, some of us are, don't get me wrong. Some of us just want to get work done. So.
Yeah. I know. If you're running anything, Unity or, Maya,
right.
Obviously you need powerful, and the more powerful stuff you have, the better. So
the better, yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. The stuff that I have, I know they updated my video card like a year ago, and it's been running great since. So, I don't know.
Well, that counts. All right, we are actually at the end of the stream, if you can believe that.
Wow.
So that means you get to pick our next keyword for our final giveaway for today.
Oh wow! I was gonna say Forest Gremlin, but you took that one, didn't you?
I know.
Stole it. Let's see. What would be a good one? How about, just one word though, huh?
Well, you can do a phrase. We just take out, if it's a simple, like if it's 2 words or something like that, we just take out the space.
How about the principles of animation?
Oh, God. Okay.
There's
all right,
12.
everybody.
You could do the 12 principles of animation, but I figured I'd cut it down. Or you could do 12 animations. I don't know, whatever you want.
12 animations. Let's go with 12 animations. So it'd be the number 1, the number 2, and then no spaces between that. So number 1, number 2, and then animation. Animations. Sorry, 12 animations. And while we are waiting for people to put that in, I'm going to ask you one last question, which is from Devlin Pixie. And she asks in chat, how does PvP implementation affect modeling and animation? Was that an easy change for you?
Yes, it was a very easy change for me. It wasn't that much because we already had all the attack animations in there. I'm gonna be throwing some hit react animations, so it's a couple of quick animations. But as far as the modeling and the animation, it's pretty much the same thing because everything's already there. It's
right.
That's more comes of
as part of our.
Yeah, we'll be using the same attacks, and if we can think of something cool, we can put that in there. But pretty much it's the same for us. It's more on the code side, and maybe the effects, getting some cool effects in there.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, let me roll the dice here. All right, so the winners for this are going to be. Work with me here, chat. Okay, winner 1, winner 2. Whoop, I almost misspelled that, and 3rd time's the charm. All right, congratulations to. Why can't I type? My Lulz, Wolfspawn, and Taz. Thank you very much, guys, for trying, I guess. That was weak. Congratulations to our winners today. If you have one code for me, make sure you message me here on Twitch after the if I get them or when I get them after the stream today. I will make sure that you will get your codes in your messages. Yay! Congratulations! Welcome to the world of Savage Lands. On that note, Nate, do you have any final thoughts that you would like to share with our community?
No, I mean, I hope you guys are enjoying the game. Keep posting stuff if you see anything, any weird animations or,
Yep.
you know, definitely we look at those things and trust me, we do look at those things. And yeah, I hope you guys keep enjoying the game because I enjoy working on it. So I hope it keeps going.
Awesome, and I'm going to embarrass you real quick. Everybody say congratulations to Mr. AniNator and his beautiful wife. They are going to be celebrating their 1-year wedding anniversary this weekend. They're actually coming up to see, not me, but to be in my town.
You could come out and have dinner with us one night or lunch.
You know what? I would love to. I would absolutely love to. But anyway, so congratulations to you guys. That is awesome. And
appreciate it.
thank you, everybody else, for joining us today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. As always, you can find us on Twitter at SavageLandsGame.com, on Facebook at Facebook.com/SavageLands, on the official Savage Lands website, which is SavageLandsGame.com, and here on Twitch, Signal Studios, and of course on Steam. If you have any suggestions or bugs that you have found, make sure that you log in. When you're trying to post on Steam, there are hidden, well, not hidden, there are special forums for game owners for both feedback and suggestions and also for the bug reports. So you got to be logged in to see that. Sometimes when we link those discussions in chat, when you get a message saying, I can't see them, that's why you're not logged in. So that's that. Stay tuned, guys. We are not quite ready to release the update for, or rather the preview for Update 8. You're still working on some of those things. So as we get that information, keep your eyes peeled to the forums, to our Twitter and Facebook, and we will let you know that information when it arrives. So awesome. See you next week, guys.
Thanks, guys.
You can hit the button that says stop streaming.
I don't know. We're going to have to do this forever now, I guess.
Oh, no. Heaven forbid. This is going to turn into another 4-hour extravaganza, is it?
What do I hit, Chris? Oh, I think Chris wants to say something.
Oh, well, then never mind. Chris may actually have the final word this week, as opposed to the not-so-final word from last week.
Whoa. It's madness, Nate. All right, so thank you all. Hope you enjoyed, Nate. We're going to have more people on so that I don't hog the airwaves or interwebs and the digital world. It's all good. Thank you. Just an update. You know, we are investigating some crash bugs right now. The code team is looking at some stuff that's taking place. We might put out an emergency patch. We will keep you guys updated. Cool?
Sounds good.
All right, everybody. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the new creature we're working on. Rock and roll. Chloe, go ahead and say something.
No, I'm done.
All right.
Just going to wish everybody a good weekend.
Yeah, have a great weekend, guys, and enjoy your time in the Savage Lands. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye. How do I turn this thing off?